So let's say, do buckaroos, how the heck are you? Despite this glass, it is the King Brian Irish Stout that I'm having from Banter Brewing. It's a 4.8%. It's very close to traditional. The only thing that would have made this beer better would be if we had a nitro tap. But if we did, I wouldn't be able to have it here with you right now. So, anyways, but yeah, they stay right true to style here. Again, 4.8%. Great big roasted barley notes. You might get notes of espresso and dark chocolate, depending on your tasters. Almost like just a very fine sweetness, almost honey-like early on. Oh, this beer is absolutely gorgeous, man. Oh. So I hadn't bought typically throughout the year or in years past. I buy several bottles of Irish whiskey, but over the last couple of years I haven't. I've been focused almost solely on small American craft distilleries. But there was a time when I bought Irish whiskey just about year round because it was really what I loved the most. But yeah, so with so many great American craft distilleries, I've kind of shifted my focus. I don't buy a lot of mainstream brands. I try to drink whiskey the same way I drink beers. I'm not buying those mainstream brands. And it drives me crazy that craft beer drinkers that will talk about the importance of buying small when it comes to beer won't do the same for whiskey, and that drives me nuts. You don't have to have those names, in your collection, if you will. You don't even have to have a collection. I don't have a collection. I buy what I'm going to drink. There may be times I've got as many as, I don't know, I've probably had as many as 25, 30 bottles at one point. And as little as maybe one or two. I kind of buy a lot at a time, and then I quit buying and go through and drink them all. I'm not a collector. I don't want to be a collector. I don't understand that mentality of buying things to put on a shelf that you're never going to share with folks. That mentality makes absolutely no sense to me. And secondary market folks, those people are parasites. They're preying on the weak-minded, trying to tell you should have certain things when you don't need them. There's better products out there than what they're telling you should have. Having said that, man, yeah. So we are in St. Patrick's season, so I did. I guess it was a month ago or so. I had intended on going to get some Irish whiskeys, but I didn't. So I kind of waited till the last minute before I finally did. So for an inexpensive whiskey, I picked up this O'Neill. So I was looking at those names, and then I saw this one. It was only $14.99 for the 750, but it's a 5-year-old blended Irish. Put out by the folks of West Cork, but there are a couple of things I liked about it, which made me want to give it a try, which was its a unique blend of 33% single malt and 67% single grain, a little bit different than a lot of blends. And the fact that, again, aged for 5 years in first fill bourbon casks and then finished in double charred casks. So it's got a little more of that. I don't know. There's a little more of that char, right? A little more. It's just got a little more than your typical Irish. So I was really curious about it. And the fact is, it's nice. There's nothing harsh. There's nothing wrong with it. If you want to spend some more money, yeah, I mean there are more nuanced whiskeys out there. But if you want something inexpensive for cocktails or whatever, that really isn't a bad whiskey, and it's a little more inexpensive than, again, those names, and in my opinion, it's just as good. And personally, I like it better. Biscuits. The roasted malt notes on this beer is absolutely insane. In fact, I've got this pretty close to about about that perfect cellar temp at about 55 to 60, where you got all those flavors and aromatics just coming out the way you want them. You don't need a beer like this cold. Americans do tend to drink our beer way too cold, because that's what we're used to growing up with the cheap ass products. When you have a beer of this quality, you don't need it cold. You don't want it ice cold. In fact, you're holding it back if you're serving this really cold, man. It needs to be right about where I got it right this second. I'm going to pour some of this O'Neill's that we just chatted about. Put that down there. Cap back on. See, I'm going to show you the label here. Again, I don't, I assume it's been around for a while. It's the first time that I've seen it in my neck of the woods. But like I said, it's distilled, matured, and bottled by West Cork Distillers. And I've had single malts from West Cork that are just absolutely phenomenal. But I hadn't seen this one before. So anyway, Sláinte. Like I said, it's just got a little more going on than those, the big two, let's just say. Let's just say, and you're going to know who I'm talking about. The big two blended Irish. One Protestant, one Catholic. How about that? Does that narrow it down? Does that make it more clear? Anyway. Yeah, it does give you just a bigger, smokier note, but I love the way this thing comes together. And like I said, it's not harsh. There's no burn. Doesn't feel rock good in any way for that price point. It is done very well for an inexpensive blended Irish. So anyway, Sláinte. Oh, mercy. Not bad. Not bad at all, man. Anyways, stretch out over here to grab my other one here. As we climb up the food chain a little bit. We might just climb up that food chain a minute. Oh, man. So I've narrowed it down. I have it down to about 2 people. I haven't figured it out exactly, but I'm relatively certain. I'm not going to mention a name here. Because I'm thinking it's someone that knows me well, obviously. Maybe I've done some videos with. But I'm also thinking that one possibility is somebody that we've butted heads on more than one occasion. That quite frankly I don't really think a lot of, but I'm not sure because I got it between a couple folks. So, anyways, my Bushmills 10-year-old single malt, and if it is the one person I'm thinking it could be, I'm kind of I'm wondering why. But also knowing this person the way I do, I know there's always an ulterior motive. But then the other person I think it could be just somebody that I've known for a while. That sort of I want to say father figure, but just somebody that knows and we have mutual respect for each other. Let me just say that. Got to narrow it down between 2. I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, Is this the Bushmills 10? Whoever gave it to me, I'm grateful to you, whether we get along or not. I appreciate you sending me the bottle. Oh, anyway, it's luncheon. So I've got some sentimental attachment to this particular whiskey. One, it was the very first single malt that I've ever had. And at the time that I had it, I mean, there were some, there were some things attached to it, I guess. So yeah, I do have a lot of sentimental value for this particular whiskey. So I'm grateful the reason I bought the 12-year-old, in all honesty, and not the 6 or not the 10. I didn't buy the 16 as I could afford it. The reason I bought the 12 and not the 10 was that I had never had the 12, and 12 was going to cost me about $20 more than the 10. But went ahead and did it because I really wanted to try it. But then somebody sent me that 10, and I was very grateful. But the timing of that when it was sent to me and some comments that were made me think it's maybe somebody that I didn't expect to send it. How about that? See, my shot glass has some shamrocks on it, as you can see. So a lot going on. The weekend before St. Patrick's Day here in Springfield, there was the parade that I took part in. Then I met some friends afterwards. I had a friend and his significant other from Columbia come down, and they wanted to see me, so that was nice. But then I also had my friends, Black Jesus, Scotty, and some of his friends, and I feel have become my friends as well. Marty and James and what's her name? James' wife, Kelly, I believe. But it was nice to see everybody. We had a couple beers together at Bruco, and then went to Hold Fast, had a couple. It was nice. It was very nice. And I didn't get out of hand this year. Last year there was some serious drinking going on, so I told myself I was going to keep it together this year. So I only had 3 beers for the duration of the parade, which was we met about 11:30. The parade didn't start till 2 and finished about 3-ish. So during that duration, I only had 3 beers, so I felt I was doing well. And then in the 3 hours we were at the 2 places, I had 4 beers, which is more than it sounds like because there were 4 20-ounce mugs, right? So that is a lot of beer. But then I didn't have any more. We got home, there was a gourmet pizza truck at Hold Fast. So we got a pizza, came home and ate. But then I never had any more to drink the rest of the evening. Had something weighing heavy on me, so I thought, well, I'm just going to relax. I wouldn't have enjoyed it, I guess. I wanted to do a video, but I had something really weighing heavy on me. And it still is, but I'm kind of at the point where I've kind of made that decision of what I need to do now. At that point, I hadn't made that final decision. Now I kind of feel like I know what I need to do. So even though I don't necessarily like that outcome, I know what I need to do. But that's why I didn't drink anymore that evening or after the parade, because I knew I needed to, take it down a notch. But last year was brutal, man. It's the first time I'd done the parade, and folks were having beers, doing shots, and I don't typically do that, but it was kind of one of those when in Rome moments, right? Okay, all right. It was a lot of fun. But the problem was I had agreed to work the Sunday, which I never do. But I got roped into it, and the problem, it wasn't that I just had to work the Sunday, because if I had Monday off, I'd have been okay. But because I agreed to work this, I worked Friday, off Saturday, then I agreed to work Sunday, but I also worked Monday and Tuesday. So I was so freaking hungover Sunday, but I had to work. but then also had to work Monday and Tuesday, so I never really had a chance to fully recover from that hangover for following me because it was brutal, man. So this year I made it clear that there is no possible way I could work Saturday or Sunday. Uh, but I did keep it more mellow this year. I made sure I didn't get that far gone. But last year we did the parade, had several. I mean, several. Uh, met some friends, had a whole fast, had even more. Wife and I went out for dinner at a place called George Max, and then I came home, and then there was I don't know if it wasn't scheduled or if I just forgot. Could have been both, but there was the Andrew Chaser show had its uh, St. Patrick's show the Saturday. So I'm not sure why we didn't do the Saturday this year, but I'm always I'm always at the whim of others' schedules, so which is why I don't do a lot of those shows anymore. But yeah, so that went to the shows. I was already hammered, but then I had to do okay. So this year we did the show a little different. I kept it mellow. And this weekend wasn't as harsh as last year. So St. Patrick's Day this year is, well, it's Tuesday. And I work Tuesday, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind working St. Patrick's Day, if I'm being honest with you. I just want the day after off. I need that next day off. So I do expect to stay open later than we're scheduled to close, in all honesty, because I know I've got some folks who are going to want to stay later. So I'm certainly willing to do that. My wife's going to make some goodies. I'm going to do corned beef. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a corned beef and or an Irish stew. I really wanted to do a stew, but some folks expect a corned beef, so I ended up buying two corned beef, one to eat home, one to make for work, and I'll do an Irish stew that I'll take in. Because I don't make enough quantity where I can keep some back for my wife and I can at least have a meal from it. Oh. So I have friends, or I know people, let me say that don't like St. Patrick's Day. I've even watched shows recently where the characters don't like St. Patrick's Day because people just get drunk and stupid. I can't disagree with that because there's always a significant number of the society that is going to get drunk and stupid. You just can't get around that. Pub crawls and everything else. But for me and my family, it's never been necessarily about that. It's been about family, and a lot of Irish families, Irish Catholic families, Irish Reformed Catholic families like mine, we prefer the Episcopal Church than the Catholic. But yeah, it's more about family. It's more about tradition. I do drink, obviously. But we established other traditions in our families. It's about getting together. It's about the food and a whole lot of other things. So those that say, well, it's about getting drunk. Well, it's only about getting drunk if that's what you want it to be. I say the same thing about Christmas when people say Christmas is too commercial. Well, it's only too commercial if you make it that way, right? And it always drives me crazy that it's always the same folks that say Christmas is too commercial that leave Thanksgiving early for Black Friday sales, right? Okay, you're part of the problem. It's only any holiday is only commercial if you choose to make it that way. Any holiday can be the way you want it to be. You don't want it to be commercial, don't make it commercial. Don't make it about the things. Make it be about the family, the food, the gathering, whatever. Anyways, I digress. That's all the preach I'm going to get. Let me show you this bottle one more time. That's all the preachy I'm going to get. Yeah. Aged 10 years, single malt Irish whiskey. This Bushmills is very nice. Again, it was the first single malt that I'd had. They don't give you information about it on the backside. I wish they did. But anyways, let me show you the bottle one last time. As I wrap this up, I am Tom, the beer whisperer, beer evangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and I'm also Tom, the whiskey whisperer, whiskey evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, all around good guy. Launch it.